it wasn't grueling, but I think it was, you kind of just are working through lots of different emotions and just trying to track your life and go through the years. We uncovered all kinds of fascinating things about Sheryl.
Sheryl is the voice of a generation.
With Sheryl, the struggle to make something great is always in there, and she commanded the spotlight.
You never questioned whether Sheryl was the boss. She's so rock and roll.
Documentaries have meant a lot to me. Obviously, it's gotten through us through, quarantine all the way through. And he just said, look, you got 30 years of experience. It's time for you to do this. So they sent me a few directors to look at, all women, and immediately I knew that Amy was simpatico. I loved her sense of style and her taste and her ability to tell a great story. And so we went with Amy, and it's just been a really great experience.
And when I was brought to the project, I just listened to her words and music that Gunpowder and Sky produced for Audible. Your storytelling was so good. It was so tangible, and it was so easy to visualize story with her words. So it was really exciting. This coming Saturday will be a year to the date that we first flew to Nashville to meet Sheryl.
But in dog years, it was about 78 years.
Yeah.
So,
I think when you're in the interview chair, 78 years. It was, and for documentaries, it's like, to make it and finish and premiere in under a year is a feat of strength.
Yes.
So.
Really.
It's always hard to look back and talk about who you were, because it's only who you think you were.
I watch the sun come.
I've always had real high highs and real low lows. All of a sudden, you wake up and you realize, wow, I just went into a hole.
Well, there were a lot of things that really surprised me about the experience, and one of them was just how exhausting it is to sit and reflect. We don't really do that in our normal lives, and to sit, for hours in a chair and talk about all the experiences that sort of were the impetus for why I became an artist in the first place. It was really emotional and really kind of healing in some ways, to talk about the really hard stuff. And I think in the end, it winds up being very gratifying to be able to tell the stories of what it's been like to be a woman in a business that is particularly male-oriented. Hopefully people will come away feeling, a sense of courage and bravery and hopefully some hope.
Not everything in your life is going to be mapped out for you. There are going to be things that happen that you wouldn't have been able to dream about.
If it makes you happy.
I think in terms of anything that surprised me about the making of the film, it's just uncovering things about someone that you don't know, that you think going into it. We put Sheryl through the ringer. It was day after day after day after day of a long time in the chair. And it wasn't grueling, but I think it was, you kind of just are working through lots of different emotions and just trying to track your life and go through the years. We uncovered all kinds of fascinating things about Sheryl.
It's a weird thing, a documentary. I feel like documentaries typically are done after someone's already, passed on. So to actually be a part of it, it really, it definitely keys into my vulnerabilities already. I'm not a great self-promoter, and this is definitely a very revealing documentary. I mean, there's some really hard stuff in it. And one of the things I think that I've come away with recently was that this interviewer said to me that 90 minutes of sitting through that defied everything that I thought about you. And I think if that's the response that this thing gets, then Amy and her team have really, told a good story.
When he said that, my brain, it took a while to
like,
internal.
what, you hated me to
I
begin with?
know. I was like, that was so interesting way of
fan.
saying you liked the film. But it was right. It was like, oh wow, yeah, of course, that's why you
And
miss
that's
these
what we
things.
want. I mean, really, the reality is that I'm pretty well known for a lot of pop hits, and if you like those songs, then you might be interested in my life, but you might already have a preconceived idea of what I am. For those who don't like that, this is going to be really telling. Even for those who like those songs and think they know me, there's a lot of stuff in there in the, 40 years of grooming up into the overnight success moment, that are real life experiences. So, I hope people will come away feeling something. Life has been a real learning process for me for the last really better part of 15 years since I wound up with breast cancer, and really had to sit with that and reflect on my life and the choices that I'd made and the experiences that I'd had. And really the only way to experience the emotions of those things is to sit and hold them. And so I felt like before we did the documentary, I'd already done a lot of the work, and that's what made it easier to sit down and tell the stories.